You know, for centuries, these cards have been wrapped in this real sense of mystery. People see them and they immediately think, oh, fortune telling, right? Predicting the future. But what if that's not their true purpose at all? What if it's less about seeing what's to come and more about seeing what's already inside us?
I mean, it's the first question on everyone's mind, isn't it? You see these really dramatic images, you hear all the stories, and it's so easy to just assume it's all about divination. But let me tell you, that is only just scratching the surface.
So what if this deck of cards isn't a crystal ball at all? What if it's a mirror, or even better, a kind of psychological map? One that can lead us back to all those parts of ourselves we might have lost, or just plain ignored, or maybe never even knew were there in the first place.
And that's really the core idea here. There's this great quote from the scholar Sally Nichols that just nails it. She says that every single figure, every symbol you encounter in these cards, it's just another face of your own psyche. This whole journey, it's an internal one.
Okay, so if the tarot is a map, then like any map, we've got to learn how to read it, right? We need to understand its language, its symbols, the landmarks, the characters, and the key to unlocking all of this. Well, that comes from the psychologist Carl Jung.
And that key concept is something he called the archetype. Now, what is that? Well, think of archetypes as these universal blueprints for human experience. You know, like the hero, the wise old man, the great mother. These patterns show up in stories and myths all over the world. Jung's big idea was that these patterns aren't just out there, they're active deep inside of us, in our unconscious, and they really, really come to life in the figures of the tarot. So where do we begin on this map? Well, like any great story, our journey into the self starts with these two fundamental opposing forces. It's a primal duality, really. Two core energies that pretty much power everything else that's going to happen. All right, so on one hand, you've got the magician. This card is all about our conscious mind. It's that active, yang part of us, the part that wants to do things, to direct, to make things happen. You can think of it as our ego, the I that likes to think it's running the show. And then, on the other hand, we have the Papess, who you might also know as the High Priestess. She represents the complete opposite, that vast, mysterious, hidden world of the unconscious, the yin principle. She's the keeper of secrets, the source of our gut feelings and intuition. She's the quiet space where real transformation takes place. And this image from Rodin really puts a cool spin on the magician, doesn't it? He's not just some lone creator, forcing his will onto the world. No, it's more like this sculpture, it's a co-creative act. The creator and the thing being created, they're evolving together. It's a great reminder that our consciousness doesn't just act on the world is constantly shaping it.
And here she is, his counterpart. Look at the High Priestess. She's sitting between these two pillars. She's veiled. Her power isn't about getting out there and doing things. It's about what's happening beneath the surface. Intuition, gestation. That scroll she's holding, it's only partly revealed, and that's the whole point. She represents a kind of wisdom that you can't just grab with logic. It's something you have to feel. This is that deep, hidden part of our own psyche.
Okay, but let's be real. Once you start down this path, it's not all going to be smooth sailing. I mean, any real journey of self-discovery is going to force you to face some difficult truths. This is what we call the road of trials. And this is where we're going to meet the parts of ourselves we'd probably rather just avoid.
So, a super important idea here is what Jung called the shadow. What is it? It's basically everything we've pushed down or denied about ourselves. You know, the impatience, the jealousy, the anger, all the stuff we don't like. And because we don't want to see it in ourselves, we end up projecting it onto other people. You ever wonder why that one person just gets under your skin like no one else? Well, there's a good chance they're just carrying a piece of your shadow for you.
And in the tarot, this big, scary confrontation is symbolized by the Devil card. Now, hold on, this isn't about some external force of evil, not at all. The devil is the personification of our own chains, our bad habits, our addictions, our blind spots. It's that moment where you have to look your own shadow right in the eye and finally admit, yeah, that's part of me too.
And facing that shadow, it almost always triggers some kind of crisis. When our world gets shaken up, what's our first instinct? Usually it's to feel like a victim, right? To complain and blame the universe for everything that's going wrong. We see the lightning strike, we feel the destruction, but we just can't see the light that's inside that lightning. Not yet, anyway.
This crisis, that's the Tower card. It's that heart-stopping moment when all the comfortable structures we've built for ourselves, our rigid beliefs, our precious ego, our sense of security just get obliterated. And yeah, it's terrifying, it's painful. But here's the thing, that tower was also a prison. And as violent as its destruction is, it's also a liberation.
But then, after all the fire and the rubble, there's stillness. The star appears in the night sky. And this card? This is all about healing. It's that quiet sense of hope, that gentle guidance that finally emerges once the noisy chaos of the ego has been silenced. It's about finding our way again, not by using our old, broken maps, but by navigating by the light of the cosmos itself.
So, after you've faced your shadow, after you've survived the total collapse of your old world, what's the reward? What's the point of all this? Well, the goal of this incredibly difficult journey isn't to become perfect. Nobody's perfect. The goal is to become whole. And that wholeness is beautifully represented by the sun. After all the darkness of the trials, a new dawn finally breaks. The sun is just the symbol of absolute dazzling clarity. It's rebirth. And look, you see the two children playing? That's the whole story right there. The conscious ego and the deep unconscious, they're not at war anymore. They finally learned how to play together, to live in harmony inside this safe, protected garden. You know, the old alchemists actually had a name for this. They called it the hieros gamos, which means sacred marriage. It's this powerful idea of uniting opposing forces inside the psyche. And this alchemical drawing shows that exact process, taking all the separate warring parts of yourself and integrating them into one unified, transformed being. That's the inner experience the Sun card is all about.
And finally, we arrive at the World card. This is it, the successful completion of the journey. The dancer in the center, she's in motion. She's in this beautiful dynamic balance with everything around her. She is just fully herself. This is what Jung called individuation, becoming a whole person. And I'll say it again, not perfect, but complete.
So, why does any of this matter? Why should we care about this ancient map of the psyche today? What's the big takeaway? Well, you know, in any classic hero's journey, the story isn't really over until the hero comes back home with something to share, some kind of wisdom or elixir.
So here's your elixir, your main takeaway. First, the tarot is way more than a fortune-telling game. It's an incredible psychological tool. Second, those archetypes we talked about, they're not just characters on cards, they are living patterns inside your own mind. Third, and this is a big one, confronting your shadow and going through crises, those aren't signs of failure. They are absolutely necessary for growth. The goal isn't perfection, it's wholeness, integration. And maybe most importantly, remember that this journey, it's not a one-time trip. It's a continuous, lifelong process of discovering who you are.
The symbols might be ancient, but the journey they describe is absolutely timeless, and it's deeply personal. The map is right here. It's laid out for anyone who wants to look. So the only real question left is, where will you begin?